Hello? Huh. I could hear you now. There we go. Yeah, so, where are you calling from today?
Texas.
Fullerton.
Vancouver, BC.
I am calling from Scotland.
Seattle.
Louisiana.
And wherever you're tuning in, welcome. I'm Spencer. I love self-growth, I like cold weather, and as of recently, I became my own barber. And I must say, my haircuts recently have been on point. They're pretty good, not gonna lie. Okay, here's where the fun starts. Since birth, we go through experiences that are unique to us. The life lessons and values we hold dear to ourselves show that we are different from one another, yet also reveal how similar we are. Milking Ardor is that space to share experiences and hear new stories from people from all around the world. When I began my journey to start a podcast, I never realized there's a good amount of legal stuff I should know. And because of this, I got behind on my upload schedule, yet now I'm back. So while Milking Ardor is a safe space to share whatever, I also want to protect myself and my guests. So sorry for being a little bit late. We are new to this, and it's obvious that we are bound to run into a few issues in the beginning. So thank you for being so understanding and sticking with me. In this episode, we'll be hearing about witchcraft with Drue, video game creating with Adam, then finally, metamorphosis with Luan. And I know many of you don't know what metamorphosis is. It's self-growth. But let's get into it. This podcast has given me a lot of insight on conversation. You see, when I go out and get people for my podcast, I do a little bit of research on things they post. So if it's on their Instagram or their Reddit, I do a little bit of research and I ask questions specifically based to them. However, it's totally fun when I plan something to ask about and then the conversation just goes a completely different direction. That is what happened with Drue here. I was totally not aware she was into witchcraft, and when she started speaking about it, I just loved it. So let's check into our conversation with Drue. Where are you calling from, Drue?
Louisiana, actually.
Louisiana.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm from California.
That's awesome. California's cool.
Yeah. So if I ran into you, Drue, in the streets, which is probably not likely since I'm in Cali and you're in Louisiana, how would you introduce yourself? Give me the full introduction.
I don't even know. I'm such an awkward person, and I have such a bad resting bitch face. I don't even. I would just be like, "What's up? I'm Drue. How are you? Just I don't know."
Yeah, you kind of seem just kind of low key or just kind of mellow, just go with the flow type of person.
Yeah, I'm definitely not I just chill. I'm not. Yeah, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I'm just kind of looking at your Instagram right now. You have this post on your Instagram that's never been so excited for a candle. Is this a triangular pyramid candle?
My God, do not get me started on that candle. My fiance, dude, she laughs at me because do you go on TikTok at all?
A little bit, but this candle's kind of sick though.
Okay. So you would think the candle's super sick, right?
Yeah.
And it's so ominous. They're oh, you get crystal gems in your candle, crystals and all kinds of stuff in your candle, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was this, it got popular on TikTok, whatever. They sell out, I don't know, they restock on Wednesdays or some shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 3 minutes they sell out. Okay.
Damn.
So there's people just scrambling to get these candles, and they're $40 a piece. So I finally acquired a candle and I got it, and I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, there's gonna be so many crystals in it, it's gonna be so cool. I had 3 pebbles of, I don't even know what kind of rock. They're not crystals, they are rocks.
So they're Kinder Egg candles?
Basically, but they're $40. And then the candle doesn't even burn cool. It literally burns all the way down, through the center.
Interesting.
I was so angry about this candle, man.
So
Like
then,
$40.
why'd your husband get you this candle for you? Like, was it for the rocks
My
or
my my
fiance?
fiance
Sorry.
is a female. No, you're good. um, no, I got it. Like I seen it
Okay.
on TikTok and I was all excited about it. And yeah, it was definitely pretty much a scam. Like you go
Mm.
on their Facebook and it's just like a complete scam that they got popular off TikTok and they're like making bank. And that's
Mm.
a lot of money. I mean, it's cool looking. Like I would never, if I bought one, it would just sit there. But I'm not gonna pay
Yeah.
buku money for a candle ever again.
Like, are you into that type of stuff? I mean, you kind of have like in this photo, you kind of have like a arrangement going on, kind of like a aesthetic.
I'm like super like into witchy things
Interesting.
and like
So
have my
take me
little
back. Take me back before we continue. Take me back to how you got into this like this witchcraft type stuff.
actually it's been since I was a kid because I'm like mixed and my family like my on my dad's side like they're black but it's like super Creole uh like we found out the other day like his brother got a DNA test like a lot of like in the family on both sides there was like someone who probably ended up like sleeping with their slave owner kind of sort of
Oh,
situations.
nice.
So anyway, yeah, it's like a whole weird thing. So back in the day, my grandmother's side, um, they used to practice like voodoo, like kind of voodoo-ish stuff, cheesy stuff that you see in like New Orleans, basically. Like if you've ever seen anything like that, but
Mm-hmm.
they would like bury their owners like underwear in the yard to make sure they never loved anyone or like just crazy stuff. My grandma and her whole family like burned their hair after they cut it to make sure like no one took it and
Do
tried to
you do
do
that?
anything with it. I sometimes, but not for
Interesting.
like bad things. Like I'm like a mostly good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like if someone messes with me, I might do a little bit of inconveniences for them. But um, mostly I'm just all about just good things, like
So
like protection.
so growing up, was there like something that you'd see that your grandma or like that your mom would do, and you're like, oh, it's kind of weird.
Well, my parents never like brought me up with my grandmother was like super Catholic. Like
Mm.
she would what is it called fast for like days or whatever,
Yeah.
and my parents didn't want to like push that on me or my brother, and so I never grew up on any kind of religion,
Yeah,
and
I didn't
so
either.
I was just like, man, like witchcraft is so cool. Like it's just so nice. And like all the stuff you see online of all kinds of like aesthetic of whatever bullshit like these white girls are doing, that's like not what I do. I just do my own thing. I don't have a certain book that I go after.
So what would you like kind of label yourself? Would it be like a witch or like a necromancer or
Oh,
spellcaster?
necromancy is way different. No, I just I'm just a Creole girl. That's what they call them, Creole girls. That's what I think I am. Like I know a couple of girls like that too that are just like we're just from this like deep south of Louisiana and we
Mm-hmm.
just do our own thing.
I want to go back
It's
to the
pretty
voodoo
interesting.
thing
Hmm.
because when I think of voodoo, I think of the. Do you know who Smosh is?
Yeah, like the YouTuber, like
Yeah,
the
the YouTube pair.
channel or
Yeah,
like the old
yeah,
Smosh.
the old Smosh with Anthony and
Hmm.
Ian. And whenever I think of like voodoo, I
Anthony
think of
Padilla.
this the video that they did of like voodoo dolls in real life or whatever, where they're like giving voodoo dolls to each other and then they just like mess with each other and like it's like a skit, you know. So
Yeah.
what what is voodoo exactly? Because I feel like that's kind of like fake, you know, just a story.
Uh, it's kind of I to be honest, I don't mess with that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But like that kind of stuff, it gets real weird. Like the stuff that they do, like I said, like my grandmother like would like burn her hair, and like her whole family would burn their hair because they didn't want people stealing it and like doing stuff to them. It gets like that stuff gets really deep. It's like a whole thing. And whenever you go to New Orleans, like you can go on Bourbon Street and there's like this voodoo shop, and it's kind of like a gag, but most of it comes from like Haiti, and I'm not really into all that stuff. Like, yeah.
So is the doll thing like actually a thing that they use, or?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes. They will. They'll make a doll, or they can make something. They can do some weird stuff. There's still people who do it, but I think there's like a whole thing about it. I don't know. I don't even mess with it.
It's kind of scary.
It's a little creepy sometimes. People are weird.
You would, wow, it's yeah.
Yeah, that's something like it's really interesting. Like if you look up like hoodoo, like it's HOODOO, you can learn some pretty interesting and pretty weird stuff. Like you talked about necromancy, like there's stuff like that that they do. It's kind of weird sometimes.
Kind of wild. So is this something that you're gonna like continue like with?
I'm just living and manifesting positive. Definitely these days, you just gotta manifest like positive vibes energy, out in the world, because this shit is too wild right now.
Oh, it's
you know,
crazy.
Is it crazy over there where you are?
So I'm in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a city, pretty big city, very liberal.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I keep up with everywhere else except San Francisco.
Okay. Yeah.
So I wish I could like say more about what's happening in San Francisco or just kind of my area, but I know very little about it.
So there's no like riots and
there's still riots.
All that there is.
Yeah. Very crazy.
That's crazy. We don't have any of that going on here. I think like someone told us yesterday that New Orleans had brought out the SWAT team. Like we were at a protest in my hometown, and but I haven't heard that there were any riots in Louisiana at all. But everybody is protesting.
Yeah, the shit's wild.
Oh yeah.
Well, Drue, it's really nice talking to you. I feel like I learned a little bit more about the witchcraft. And
yeah, it's pretty interesting. Like, just check it out. Just to, if you ever get bored and feel like reading something today, read a little bit about like voodoo. That stuff's weird.
I'll definitely be sure to check that out because I am very intrigued about that. I think it'd be fun just to see what people worship or how they practice stuff.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, I'll keep you posted about everything that's going to happen concerning the podcast.
Definitely. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
It seems like you're doing something cool. So
yeah.
You're welcome. It was
I appreciate the kind words. All right. Have a good day, Drue.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right, you too.
Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, nice to meet you, Adam.
Yeah, nice to meet you as well, Spencer. Glad to help you guys out in your podcast endeavors.
Thank you. Yeah, it's much appreciated. How's your day going so far?
Yeah, I mean, it's been pretty slow. The work at home thing's not my cup of tea, but we got to do what we got to do. But yeah, other than that, all is good.
So, where are you calling from, Adam?
Portland area.
Portland,
So
okay.
I've been living here for the last since August. Been loving it a lot. I grew up in Seattle and missed having a local NBA team, so it's been a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. And tell me about yourself. Like, give me the elevator pitch of who you are.
Yeah, so I know the big focus is like game development stuff, but for me, that's very much more of just like a thing for fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of like a fun side hobby. I work for a digital marketing agency, so I help a bunch of businesses, grow their business online.
Yeah.
So that's what I do for full time. My degree was in information systems and marketing, so I kind of know how to code from school, but not nearly as much as my comp sci friends. And I just kind of thought it'd be fun to kind of like keep my coding skills going by just trying out making like simple text games and platformers, and never really had like the ambition to make it like the next Stardew Valley or anything crazy. But it's just been like a fun way to kind of keep that coding brain going on because I don't really do any coding in my professional work.
Yeah, so could you tell me more about what Fluffy Dog Media is? I saw that somewhere.
Oh, dang, you did your homework. Yeah, so Fluffy Dog Media was essentially a project for myself where I was like, if I could build a website without like WordPress or Squarespace and just see if I could make every single line of code, because my background was mostly web development. My first job out of college I was a web developer, so it was more of just to see if I could do it.
So this website that you made was completely made from scratch.
Yeah, and I mean, there's definitely, if you go onto GitHub, there's definitely a lot of spaghetti code, but it was just like a fun way to learn like how to like make it mobile friendly. I mean, there's still some SEO stuff I could definitely tweak, but it's more just like a fun hobby thing and just kind of put in my portfolio, like, hey, I made a website. I didn't use WordPress or Squarespace. Yeah, it's in today's era, there's really no reason to make a website on your own unless you just can't afford like a WordPress license, but that's like $5 a month. So technically there's no like good reason I should do it, but other than just to like hone my craft.
So do you think you'll ever like go back to adding on to this website?
Yeah, I mean, I want to like create a system right now. Like if I want to like say add another blog, I have to like manually put in a code myself, and it gets pretty annoying to like put it on the website and then put it on the web server where I'm hosting it. And that gets pretty tedious. And I guess like for me, like my rule of thumb with all these like this hobby work is that if let's say like my goal today is like, oh, I want to go like get this like collision system set up for a platform I'm working on, or I want to work on a sprite animation, but then a friend texts me saying, hey, like let's go golfing. I'm going to always choose like a social event beforehand. So this is more of just like a thing to do for like an hour or two a day when there's like some downtime, and with everything going on, I've had more time to work on stuff. But I think it's just very important that I don't just like abandon my social life and just like go crazy trying to make like some over the top game that I don't have the skill sets to currently make.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So you said that game development for you is more of like a hobby. How do you get into game development, or what made you want to make games?
So I think like growing up, I just assumed you had to have like some 400 level IQ to actually like make something as simple as just like Mario jumping up a screen. And I didn't even really see myself as like a programmer until I was kind of required in college. I had to take a MIS class, had to learn HTML, and I really liked it.
Okay.
And then like after I would have originally tried crazy stuff like building my own engine, and that was just really just not fun.
Sounds very tedious.
Yeah, it's a lot of like really nerdy backend stuff that I just don't have the skills to do. But then I figured out like there's two open source engines I use, Inkle and Godot. They're pretty user friendly, and I kind of found that being more rewarding. So now I've got to figure out like how to actually develop stuff, and I have like some kind of like a system. It's been a lot more rewarding. But yeah, like I think it's just important because like I haven't like tried to make like the next like Stardew Valley or next like Red Dead Redemption or make some crazy open world game. It's just like very simple text platformer games just to kind of learn how to do it. And then maybe if I feel more confident building more games, I'll try something more ambitious, but that's kind of the way it's going. Yeah.
Could you tell me more about this text-based game you made? That's your first game that you made, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah. So that's the first one I've actually like I made some like crappy prototypes that I've just never put up because they're just pretty janky. And then like there's a second one coming up soon. I'm just having some friends review it. But basically, I had a hard time in college. Like I originally thought my good like side hustle could be like writing a book. I originally went to college to be an English teacher, and I wasn't really my cup of tea. So then I would try writing stuff, but it all kind of was like a carbon copy of stuff I kind of like. So it's like the poor man's version of like Lord of the Rings, or the poor man's version. Like I think I got like 6 chapters in, and I realized it was basically the plot points of Ocarina of Time. And I'm like, well, why would anyone want to read this just to play Ocarina of Time?
Yeah.
So then I kind of figured out like the weird niche, I think, for game development is I'm also like a really big sports fan. Whether it's like basketball, football, golf, you name it. And I thought it'd be fun to kind of like create games in like this context of a universe where it's almost like Space Jam, where it's kind of just like more like on a wackier, silly, almost Nintendo side, but there's kind of this focus on like sports. And I've kind of found like as a creative standpoint, it's helped me kind of keep things focused. So I don't give myself some kind of like barrier. Then my creative work kind of goes off the rails, and there's really no like backbone to it. So I've kind of found the backbone being like sports, and kind of this Space Jam-esque world helps to kind of keep it consistent throughout.
Yeah. So you're also working on a new game, right? Kind of like on the side a little bit.
Yeah, there's like I'm working on like another text game that's going to come out probably in the next couple of weeks. It's basically finished. I just want to like
finalize
cross
it.
my T's and dot my I's. And then I'm got a pretty rough platformer game. I'm not sure if I'll publish it, but it's just I've got at least a working prototype. I might put the prototype on itch.io, but I'm not really sure. I'm more just kind of learning as I go. So I'm just kind of seeing like basically it's like a Frankenstein of every tutorial I've seen on YouTube. But yeah, like I mean that's kind of a great thing, because since this isn't like a job, I can kind of take my sweet time, and I don't have the like, oh, if I don't publish this game by like end of June, I can't pay rent, and then I gotta go like, just find some other way to like.
There's not that time restraint that's kind of binding you to work on this.
Yeah, because like I've heard stories from people who go like full time indie dev, and to be honest, like it's fun, but for me it's not so fun that I want to do like 10 to 12 hours a day with like the fear of like not having any kind of security. And I really like my job currently a lot, so for me, I don't have that motivation to like put all my chips in indie game development. So
if you don't mind me asking, what do you do for work now?
Yeah, so I work like in a sales role. Like basically I talk to small businesses about our different marketing packages. So like we do like paid search, SEO, social media. So I'll walk through stuff like that with clients. But yeah, that's how I put bread on the table.
Okay. So I had a question that I wrote down before that I thought of. So what do you want to like kind of achieve with your game? So you publish these games, and then you're like, okay, what am I trying to achieve with the person playing it?
Yeah, I think for me the big thing is because the big focus of the platformer game, because I've tried to think of a way to make my text games more like multiplayer friendly, and there's really not a good way to do that. Maybe there is, I just haven't found it. But the platformer game, it's more focused on like couch multiplayer, because that's for me like a big reason why I love video games. I love bringing friends over and we play a couple rounds of Halo, or we play some Rocket League. I like that in-person experience of playing games with friends. I'm kind of hoping to at least capture a fraction of that fun I've had throughout my life. Nice.
And what's next for you in the next coming of whatever time period?
I mean, yeah, I think that's a question everyone's asking with like their own lives. So for me, I just want to keep growing. I do have like set goals like in my head as far as like when I want to get stuff finished, but since it's not a business, it's a hobby, there's flexibility of that. So like things can happen with work, or my personal life gets a little more busy. It's like it's pretty easy for me to make those tweaks. So like I ideally end of June I'll have the text game up, and I have no clue of the platform we're getting, so I'm not sure like how much I want to make before I publish it, because I have like some idea of how many levels and how many assets I want to create, but it's pretty easy, I think, as a developer to think, oh, I don't know how to do this, but I bet it's pretty easy, and then you try it, and then you just spend like 5 hours accomplishing basically nothing. So like in my head, it's like, oh, adding like a Goomba style character, that should be pretty easy, and then you go through like 50 tutorials, and you've like on the surface, it looks like you haven't done anything, and I don't want it to be super stressful, so I don't want to make it so hard to make that I'm just like pulling my hair out, trying to figure out how to get stuff to work. So yeah, I'm just trying to find that balance and just kind of enjoy the process. And then the way I make it enjoyable is I also don't like, sacrifice my personal
Yeah.
life to do it. I make sure I, spend time with friends and family, go out, do stuff, work out, exercise, and then just like enjoy my other hobbies as well.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for talking to me, Adam. I know this is kind of quick and short, but that's kind of normally how these conversations are. Thanks for telling me about your whole game development and just kind of how you're going on about that.
Absolutely. I'm glad to help you out, Spencer. I'd love to know when this gets out on Spotify, and I'm definitely,
Yeah.
best of luck with the podcast world. I'm sure you're going to crush it, man.
Thank you. You have a great day, Adam.
All right, you take care.
Thanks. Yay! We made it through 2/3 of the second episode of Milking Ardor. Yeah, those were supposed to be air horns, but I don't actually have any air horns. Now, this is the part where I acknowledge my sponsorships. I don't have sponsorships, so I just look at something in my room and acknowledge that. I'm looking at my wisdom teeth right now, and I would like to say that was a fun experience when I got those out, because I was very high coming out of that, and that was very fun. I felt great. Anyways, this next conversation is with Luan, and I try to aim for a 10 to 15 minute conversation, but we ended up having an hour conversation. So I had to cut out a lot, but the context is we were talking about his ghost experience he had, and that freaked him out as a child. But we're just talking about energies now. And I must say, I don't do drugs, I don't drink, so keep that in mind, okay? Different when it's like coming from a sub experience, and then when you try to like say it out loud, it's like, wait, hold on.
Yeah, you're like, I sound like a total freaking nutjob, man. Like, what am I talking about? But yeah, I believe in spirits. I believe in energy. I believe in, like, I guess, ghosts to that extent. But I think that, like, every living thing has, like, energy to it, and everything's connected. And there's like a that you remember that episode in Midnight Gospel, like with the prison.
Yeah.
And at the end, the whole, like, the whole ticket, like, the whole idea was that, this girl was trying to escape the prison, and she kept having to do it over and over again, and she had to learn compassion in order to really free herself. Because, at the end of the day, like, we're all human, we're all feeling the same feelings, and it's important to just, recognize that and try to help out as many people as you can, because we're all, part of the same collective. We all have the same mind, we all feel the same, we all,
Yeah.
So I believe in that kind of thing.
No, I understand
not
that. I believe in different energy. Like, I believe in the energy thing too. Yeah. I think what really got me into the energy is when I tried shrooms on accidentally my freshman year of high school.
Yeah.
So
No, I'm sorry, go for it. I want to hear this story. This is.
Yeah, so I wasn't like, even now, like, I don't really do a lot of drinking. I don't do a lot of drugs. But freshman year, I came into this new community where it's like very hippie, where this like
it's like rite of passage.
Yeah, well, just like the whole community where my school was very hippie, and they did like a good amount of drugs, I guess, which is weird since it's home to a very Catholic community at the same time.
I think
that's
I totally get where you're coming from. It is weird, but from my experience, it's the people that are like the most, like, religiously, like, people who are surrounded by a lot of religion and like rules and boundaries generally tend to have like the most vice, like hedonistic tendencies. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like Mormons, and not to call anybody specifically out, because I'm sure it differs. But I have a friend who lives up in Boulder Junction, which is like a small as hell town, I think in Michigan, and there's like nobody who lives there, and they all do meth. And that's because, like, I mean, I'm sure they're like, there's a large population of them who are Christian, or who aren't, whatever the case may be, but because there's like so few people, and because like everything is so homogeneous, and like everybody does the same thing, and everybody believes the same thing, everybody like lives the same way, there's no room for like expression or like difference. So they all just
it's wild why like people do like drugs just for like their own personal reasons.
Right, it's to escape. You know what I mean?
I had no.
I'm sorry.
I had no intention of escaping. Honestly, I was just exploring. This is a boarding school. I'm in a new community by myself. I'm just wandering the town, and then I come to like this like market. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say. the name.
Oh, so you're out and about. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm just like in the town where the city is. I'm not gonna say like the name, but they're just like giving out chocolates. You know, like how stores do with just free samples.
Right.
And I come across this market, and this guy's outside like, "Yo, do you want to try some chocolate? This dark chocolate is like fused with all this stuff, mushrooms too, and this is supposed to help you with brain power, with stamina, with energy." And I was like, I guess. So I had all the different types of chocolates they offered.
Oh no.
And then an hour later, I was like, whoa, where am I? Like I kind of started getting discombobulated. And I had to call the dorm, like, yo, could you pick me up? So they picked me up. And I remember putting down the phone and saying, hey, could you pick me up? And I turned off the phone, and then I blinked, and I was at school in my room. And I was like, what the fuck? And then I blinked again, and then I was at Target or whatever shopping with my friends, and I was kind of freaking the fuck out. I was like, how am I doing this?
Were you actually like physically in those places, or were you like hallucinating?
I was actually in those places.
Nice.
It was so wild. And then I was like looking at my friends, and they're just kind of giving off this aura of colors, and I was like, what the fuck is happening? And long story short, I guess that's now how I believe in energies.
Yeah, no, it's powerful stuff, man. Like, and I'm not usually one to condone the excessive use of psychedelics. Like, I mean, I've only done shrooms in small amounts.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the most intense experience I had with psychedelics was when I tried acid for the first time. I don't know if you have any experience.
Yeah, no, I don't really do a lot of drugs. Like, I don't even do any drugs. So that's like
I don't know. I drink socially, and I don't really smoke weed anymore. Because it freaks me out these days. And I really don't have access to like plugs or anybody like that. So I don't, like generally, like if it's there, I'll think about it, if I want to, sure. But otherwise, I've got stuff to do.
Yeah.
But I'm really grateful. I'll say that for my first experience with
No, okay. You're not going to say that and not tell me about your first time on acid. What's that like?
Well, I mean, it's from the time that I've done shrooms, I think it's like different. You know what I mean? Because people describe psychedelics as like, well, it's like a bunch of trippy stuff going on, and like, you're in space and you're feeling all these things, which is like partly true. You know what I mean? Like, you're definitely more emotionally present, I think, than usually you are. Like, you're more tuned to things going on around you and how people are acting, which is why it can go bad really fast, right? Like, you have to put yourself in a good mindset if you're going to do that stuff. Otherwise, it's going to be miserable. So my first time doing this was my old roommate, who I don't really talk to anymore, but, I hope he's okay. There's a whole fucking story there, man. But so one of his friends got us a double tab each, and we had like none of us had worked the next day. We were like, might as well see what happens. Like, neither of us had ever done it before. And so we popped them and we sat back for half an hour, and it just felt like a really intense weed high. And I was like, okay, this is cool. Wait, this is going to be the next 10 hours of my life. Like, I really wasn't feeling it. But after that point, it started to kick in.
Oh, it just hit you hard, I imagine.
Yeah,
huh?
It hit me all at once. And it was crazy because I had never in my life imagined that it would be like that. You know what I mean? Because like in all of the media that depicts acid or psychedelics, it's super trippy, and there's a bunch of like fractals in the background in space. But it was really it was grounded for me, is what it was. That's what I'm going to choose to use. It was beautiful. It really was. Like, again, saying it out loud, it sounds like I'm a total like hippie, but it was a really intense experience. I had a lot going on in my life that I needed to figure out for myself, and I didn't want to confront any of the negativity that I was like giving myself and projecting onto others. And there was this moment that I remember. I went outside onto the back porch, and it was middle of summer, middle of the night. It was raining, and I remember crying for a long time.
Yeah.
Because the experience of seeing and feeling and smelling this rain kind of like wash everything away, and kind of going through the motions of like dealing with all this this negativity within me. It was like transformative, and it was beautiful, and it was really amazing. And I haven't done it since, That was a few years ago now. I absolutely would, but I think I would need to be in the right mindset and have kind of the right moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Did that kind of like force you to push through all that kind of negativity that you're
Yeah,
going
absolutely.
through and just kind of help
Yeah.
you sort things out?
Yeah, there was a while that I was just like, I was under a lot of stress. Like I had classes, I had to pay rent. There was some, I'm not going to go like into detail because I don't want to like, get
Yeah.
into it. But, my roommates were having some financial issues. So I was having to pick up their slack, which means I had to work more. I had to go home and spend time with like there was all these like things that I had going on
Yeah.
that were just really shitty and they were compounding and I didn't know how to deal with it. So I kind of like, shut myself off and, wasn't dealing with it in a very healthy way. And I think that experience of taking psychedelics and opening myself up to the realization that, I'm choosing to put my like not necessarily I'm choosing to make my life shitty, but like I'm choosing to put myself in a mindset that only allows me to like, respond to this stuff negatively. You know what I mean? So
It
I
kind
think
of
that was
this whole experience gave you clarity.
exactly,
Hmm.
which I'm really grateful for. So
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I would recommend somebody do it just off the bat, but if you've got stuff to think about or you want to have some fun with friends and you got nothing better to do, like why not?
I think it's funny how you're like, oh yeah, I don't do drugs. I don't like I'll drink socially, and then here you are saying like, well, if it's there and you can do acid.
Well,
do
that
I
was like the
recommend
one
it?
time. That was the one time. I mean, I don't know. I'm not, I'm not experienced with that stuff. I haven't done
Yeah.
it a lot. But I have that one experience that was super dope. I know some people tried it and they hated it, like they had a horrible
Mhm.
experience with it. It really depends on
The person.
your own.
Yeah.
Because everybody's brain chemistry is different.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm sure you'll get to try it at some point and you can decide how you feel about it. I'm not sure if you're ever going to try shrooms again, from what I hear.
Oh,
But
shrooms was so scary.
yeah, it's one of those things you have to like be with people you trust for
Yeah.
the first time.
And I was alone too, which would made it
Jesus.
scarier. So.
Yeah, once the walls start moving, that's it, dude.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
you gotta check out.
Hmm.
I'm more like, how much did you take? Because you said you had one of every chocolate.
I don't even know, but I don't have like any other experiences to base off of, but it is really scary.
Yeah, no, it can be super freaky.
Yeah.
I'm sure your friends thought it was the funniest thing in the world.
Oh
though.
yeah, they were laughing at me when I told them about it.
Did they know you were like high off your ass in Target, or?
They didn't. They just thought I was off, and then I told them about it the next day, and they're like, "Oh, that's why you're like tripping." And I was like,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're out of it. I'm sorry, dude. That sounds horrible.
I think it makes a good story.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's what I think is kind of awful, but also kind of hilarious at the same time. Is like every miserable experience in my life is now the best story
Yeah.
that I have. You know what I mean? Like every awful experience at work, every super awkward moment I've
Oh
had
man,
in passing.
over these past few years, I've come to learn to love these terrible and negative experiences. It really makes you and really shapes you to who you are.
They're
when it comes.
horrible in the moment,
Oh
but
yeah.
afterward you're like, well, okay. I guess I came out of that a little better than when I went in.
Yeah. It was awful. When I was younger, I had this best friend, and then she ended up liking me, and I was like, oh, I don't feel the same way. And the thing is, she was like into like self harm and stuff, and then she like
I'm
cut me off,
sorry.
and I thought I like killed her, and it was so bad. And then just for 3 whole months, I thought she died, and it turns out that's not the case. We're both doing really well, but
That's good.
just in the moment, it's really shit. And then here I am now, just oh man, I've flourished profoundly, and I've grown so much.
Yeah, that's horrible, dude. I'm sorry. I mean,
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry for you. I hope she's doing okay.
No, yeah, she's doing great.
That's one of those things that's just like you don't have any agency. Like you're kind of being held hostage. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
like you don't really have any stake in what's going on beyond the fact that you want her to be okay and to get help.
Yeah.
But God, I mean, I've never personally had that experience. But I'm sorry.
Oh no, yeah. I hate to drop this on you. I know it's very deep. And I do say this is like the worst thing that could have ever happened to me because I thought I killed my best friend for like 3 weeks, 3 months.
Right.
But no, I think that was my defining moment to becoming who I am. As fucked up as this is to say, but I'm glad she put me through that.
Do you guys still talk?
Here and there, but not too much.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
that's one of those things that I can totally understand how, you would joke about that afterward, but in the moment that must have been
Oh, yeah.
pretty miserable. I remember I didn't really have like this much of the same experience in terms of that thing, and in terms of that like scenario exactly. Like I've never, really had that connection with somebody who, was harming themselves. I did know a lot of people who did that in high school that I was friends with, but to the extent that I tried to help them, it was mostly just me reaching out and asking like if they needed anything, that kind of thing. But I guess more so when I was younger, there was like, the whole girl next door thing. There was a girl who lived a few doors down, and she was into me for a while. And I'm, the densest son of a gun you're ever going to meet. Like, I don't pick up on signal at all. And that's, I think, my Achilles heel is I have no idea.
Yeah.
Like if you're sending me a signal, like if you're like trying to, tell me like I don't want to be here anymore, like let's get out of here, and you're like sending me body language, or you're like dropping me social cues, like I'm not gonna pick it up. Like I don't understand any of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt really bad afterward because I had gotten a girlfriend later in high school, and I had asked, like it had finally hit me in the middle of this relationship that I was in. I like asked her the next time we were hanging out, I'm like, hey, like, were you into me at all for any of this time that we've known each other? And she was like, yeah. You didn't realize? And I was like, oh, Jesus, I'm so sorry. And to make it worse, like, she gets me a job at a pet store, right? Super nice of her to do. She sticks her neck out for me because I needed a job. And, this was at that point in my life where I was like not, really very healthy, and in terms of my behavior, and in terms of the way I was like treating my friends. And so I totally like bailed on that job, didn't like give them a 2 weeks or anything. And like a few months later, after I'd gotten my shit together, I thought about it and I was like, wow, not only did I like completely emotionally reject this person who I've known for my entire life, but I've also made them look like a total asshole in front of their boss because I just dropped the job they got me. You know what I mean?
You used her and then dropped
exactly.
it. Oh,
and I felt so bad.
Man,
and
you're a terrible person for that.
I'm sorry. I know. Well, that's what I mean when I say I had that experience on acid, and that was my like point of, wow, all of these things that I'm doing are toxic. Maybe I should try fixing it, and maybe I should try like working to be a better person instead of being a piece of shit all the time. So I texted her. I was like, hey, I haven't talked to you in like a year.
Yeah.
I know you don't I know you don't like deserve my apology. Like I don't deserve to be able to apologize, but like I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Like for what it's worth, and I hope that you're okay, and all that stuff. So, I don't know.
Yeah,
life is weird, dude.
It's crazy how one defining moment could just change us.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to paint myself as like a total piece of shit, because quite frankly, I think there's a lot more to me than that. But there's a lot of really stupid mistakes that I've made in my life that I'm not proud of, but definitely taught me a lot about the value of relationships and what loving somebody in a healthy way means.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. That's my that's my yikes moment.
Well, thank you so much, Luan.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
And,
it was a pleasure.
Hopefully we could keep in touch, and
yeah, absolutely.
If you do come out with that podcast or you come out with that novel, please just feel free to message me. I'd love to check that out.
Yeah, for sure, man. Absolutely. And I might hit you up with some questions as to how to do some of this stuff.
Great. So sounds like we'll keep in touch.
Absolutely. Thank you so much again.
Thank you so much, Luan.
Have a good one.
I'll talk to you later. I just want to get this last part done. I recorded this so many times. Anyways, thank you Drue, Adam, and Luan for being on today's episode. If you want to hear more about Drue, you can find her on Instagram at Betty Spaghetto. Or if you want to hear about Luan, he's actually coming out with a book and a podcast sometime soon. You can find him on Instagram at y_o_j_o_a. It's a lot of underscores, but it's very easy to find. Thank you, Lukerembo, Fagrie, BeArtRaps, Vraagom, Guar Beats, and Tarek Flixx for the amazing beats. If you check out the descriptions, you can see the exact songs I used. If you want to hear more exclusive content of Milking Ardor, you can find me on TikTok at milking.ardor. It's pretty cool. I've posted a few videos there of just clips that I've had from other conversations, and you should definitely check that out. If you want to contact me or just see more Milking Ardor updates, find me on Instagram at _spence_r_. You could also find that in the Milking Ardor description. Wow, that's a whole 1 minute and 30 seconds of me speaking straight. I should wrap this episode, but I can't end it without saying thank you to you, the viewer, the listener. Thank you so much for taking your time and getting a little dose of empathy through my podcast, The Milking Ardor. I can't wait for you to see what's next. So that's enough for me, and I'll see you later.